Hi, my name is Amanda Panacea, and you're listening to the Healer Revolution podcast. This is a community for self-healers, biohackers, practitioners, and any other helping professionals. You're in the right place if you're seeking conversations about how pain becomes passion, the connection between physical, energetic, mental, and our spiritual self, finding your body's ancient wisdom, the latest biohacking technologies, clinical research, and if you just want to nerd out about complex biochemistry and quantum physics. But this is also for entrepreneurs who seek infinite abundance and a supportive community. So pour a cup of King coffee or Sisters tea and let's join the revolution. Welcome back to the Healer Revolution podcast. I am Amanda Panacea, and today we get deep into one of my newest favorite topics, molecular hydrogen, with Craig Smith, who is part of the Lourdes Holy Hydrogen team. He had a miraculous healing of his arthritis that he had for over 3 decades by using the Hydrofix machine. And since then, he has gotten involved with the Holy Hydrogen Company to help spread the word. He is very informative on why molecular hydrogen is so different than any other intervention and antioxidant, as well as what allows the Hydrofix machine to stand out from all of the other machines on the market, and why you really want to invest in one of these higher quality machines versus buying a cheaper machine from another source. So if you are wondering if hydrogen is a good option for you and what's the difference between machines and breathing it and drinking it, this is a really good episode for you. In the show notes, you'll find my links and discounts to this exact machine, as well as where to find the Holy Hydrogen Company's YouTube to further look into some of these amazing testimonials. So I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healer Revolution podcast. I am Amanda Panacea, and today I am super excited to get to sit down from Craig Smith. He is from the Lourdes Holy Hydrogen Company. Craig, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. What a pleasure to be here on this beautiful day and to talk about something I'm so passionate, you're obviously passionate about, and many people have questions about.
Yeah, absolutely. So since about May is when I got the machine, and I had, tried some of the pills before, didn't really notice anything, had some skepticism about some of the other machines, but then I started finding like Greg the Hydrogen Man and some of that content, and that's when I was really like, wow, this could be a really incredible tool for the things that I'm going through, but also most of my clients, which is like chronic inflammation, histamine issues, mast cell activation. So I'm really excited to get into all of that stuff. But first, I'd like to know, how did you come to find molecular hydrogen and be a part of Holy Hydrogen?
Yeah, I really appreciate that because, some people say, oh, he's from the company, so to speak. Of course, he's going to say all kinds of nice things, but
Right.
I discovered hydrogen. I was not part of the company. It's because I discovered hydrogen and my individual experience. That's why I chose to come on with the company when an offer was extended. And if I could rewind the time machine here just a little bit, when I was 21 years old, I was in south of France, Lourdes, France, as a matter of fact, had never heard of it, and there was this beautiful pilgrimage site where literally tens and tens, anybody can Google this, hundreds of thousands of people over the years have been going. I went there and there was a line down the block and people were coming to this grotto, mountainside, hillside, getting water out of the hill. And I was like, what's going on? And, looked into the story into the mid 1800s, a young lady named Bernadette. Anyway, had some incredible manifestations, experiences. Go put yourself in these healing waters that were coming out of the ground. And that's all about, that I knew about it at that time. Fast forward, all of a sudden I'm with a friend and I see this machine on his counter and I'm struggling with some issues and I see the name Lourdes Hydrofix,
Yeah.
right? Or Lourdes, depending on how you pronounce it. And I was thinking, that's French. I speak French. And I started putting two to two together that these healing waters that later many people have studied have incredible natural amounts of hydrogen in those waters. And people have been gathering, and there's other spots around the world like this where these healing type of events seem to occur more frequently. And that got me excited just from a personal note, having been a young man in France. But the issue was when I was 25, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And that blew my mind. No family history. I literally woke up one morning. I was newly married, just a young married guy. Looked over at my wife, woke up one morning terrified because I couldn't make a fist. My fingers were as hard as I tried. This is as far as I could make a fist. And it happened, it's called rapid onset. It happened immediately overnight. Woke up, ran to the doctor, had no idea what was going on. I'd learned about health, but not really super healthy, so to speak. And the doctor says, you've got rheumatoid arthritis. I thought that's an old person's disease. I'm just this
No.
25-year-old. I think, I can't believe this. And they wanted to put me on these crazy experimental medications. It required an eye test, a blood test every single month because it could make me go blind, on and on. Uh, I don't know if what happened with the medication. They told me to make some diet and lifestyle changes. I started to do that. And slowly, I just titrated myself off that medication and onto, I know your audience will scream, but onto ibuprofen, which I know is poison. When I was taking that, I was thinking, well, that's better than what they were giving me, and it's better than
Right.
narcotic. But the problem was, even though I was in kind of a quasi remission and I could make a fist, my joints never recovered since I was a young man. And so fast forward now, here I'm at my friend's house. He says, Craig, you have got to try hydrogen. I see the machine, I see the bubbles, I see, wow, this looks so simplistic. What is it? He says, try it. We got a machine, put it on my counter. Within a couple of weeks, I just started. The only way I can describe it, because I feel like it's a disease-seeking missile. And what it does for me is something different that it'll do for you and anybody else. Everybody has inflammation, the root of all disease, right? Um, in different fashions. But for me, I just started to feel better. I wasn't on my ibuprofen as much. And within 2 months of drinking hydrogen water, I was trying to drink 2 liters a day. Uh, I stopped using ibuprofen and have been ibuprofen free now for 2 years.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought amazing.
Yeah, that's about the timeline for myself as well. I didn't notice any difference for a while and I just believed in it. And then around 2, 3 months, everything just disappeared. It was so bizarre.
Yeah, it's 2 months. We hear that. I mean, if people go on our site and they look at some of the stories and they'll hear about a guy named Bruce who was a plumber that his hands look like the only way I can describe it is Frankenstein, that they had been dragged all over the asphalt, caustic chemicals for 20 years as being a plumber. His brother says, try hydrogen. They're water experts in their family. And they tried hydrogen within 2 months. It was actually less than that. For him, it was 2 weeks. His hands now look completely normal, smooth. He couldn't even touch his kids' faces or their hair because it would snag. His hands were so destroyed. But we could go on and talk about Adara,
Yeah.
her story in Hawaii about TBI, diabetes, Judy, who got up out of a wheelchair using a fork, talking to the staff in 17 days.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds too good to be true. I know.
yeah, yeah, and it is different for everybody. I've got other friends, they drink and drink and just say, you know what? I know I'm super saturating my body with hydrogen. It's it's unpaired, but it's going to go pair in with those radical oxidative species because H2O, right? It wants to have a dance partner. And so it goes and looks for those O's and it's a selective antioxidant, which is so amazing that it knows which ones to grab, which ones to leave, grabs the bad ones, the ones lighting fires in you, everywhere and just trying to destroy you from within, and it turns it into H2O, you flush it out of your body. And my one buddy, he wasn't really feeling anything. He was like, "Yeah, I kind of feel just kind of the same," but he's also a pretty healthy guy. But
Yeah.
then he went and had his blood test done on his oxygen and also his cholesterol, and his numbers had dropped out of the sky. And so, although wasn't feeling anything, so to speak, he was diffusing bombs before they were ever going to go off.
Hmm.
The way he knew that was from a blood test.
Yeah, it's not like you can feel like when your cholesterol's high, so that makes sense.
Exactly, exactly. You're yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So let's go back because I get this question a lot, and I'm sure you do too. If if water is H2O, what is molecular hydrogen doing to it? Because there's already hydrogen in the water.
That's correct. The challenge is there's not enough. You know, maybe we could say life leaves clues because as we let me just take you back to eighth grade science. This was the epiphany I had. I remember eighth grade science, looking at the periodic table, and up in the upper left, right up was there an H and it's a one. And I was like, oh, hydrogen. Okay, well, it's got a one there, and maybe it's the best or something. I didn't know what even the one meant, you know. But then we realized it's the lightest, smallest molecule on the periodic table. It can literally pierce from head to toe the entire universe. In fact, it's what makes up the majority of our universe, including our life-giving sun, the stars, everything is hydrogen. In fact, by over 70%, it's hydrogen. So when we think of an original building block, if something was used to make things, this is just how my brain thinks. If something was used like a building block to make things, maybe it's also the same thing that can repair things. And maybe life's leaving clues that maybe in our lives we need more hydrogen, not less. And so when I drink H2O, to your question, it's H2O. The challenge is it's not enough H's and it's already paired. What we want to do and what the Lourdes Hydrofix does, unlike any other machine on the planet, I can say that bar none, no other machine is lab tested, no other machine is certified, no other machine comes with a warranty like ours. And it does this amazing feat of engineering that only the Japanese can figure out.
Yeah.
And it puts an essentially infinite amount of hydrogen. See, you prepare water, but that's not the water you're going to drink because the water you're going to drink is in a pitcher sitting on another small pool of water that's been prepared for the electrolysis process that allows the hydrogen and oxygen to split. And then this membrane allows the hydrogen to infuse up into your water in almost an infinite capacity. So it super saturates your water with hydrogen. We say pour it and drink it, 8 ounces at a time, 10 ounces at a time, whatever you want to do, just get it in you. For me, I was drinking 2 liters a day. And so it's not that H2O is bad. In fact, we know we need it for life. What we
Obviously.
need is more H's to go find more O's. The O's that are in your body by themselves, right? These antioxidant, oxidative species. Think of an old truck rusting out in a field, or if you put a bunch of nails in water or expose anything to air, oxygen, it oxidizes. And heck, just look at a piece of bread, set it on your counter. You take the oxygen away, it lasts for a lot longer. In a vacuum, it can almost last forever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense for how it's being produced and why it's different than water. So
Yeah.
when it's in the body, we talk about antioxidants all the time. It's been all the rage since I think the early 90s.
Blueberry.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but they also did studies that showed that if they gave rats too much antioxidants, that there was a negative effect as well. So, can you explain why molecular hydrogen doesn't ever push you into that too much antioxidant problem?
Yeah. And the disclaimer is I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist, but I am a super fan of hydrogen. And thanks to Google and YouTube, we can learn anything we want, right? And so we can become experts in our own right. They say it takes 10,000 hours or something like that to be an expert on some subject. I'm not there yet, but as it's been explained by several doctor friends of mine, they're saying that what's happening with hydrogen versus a blueberry, and what I love is I think about how many blueberries do I have to eat to get it in my body to make it a quote antioxidant to go do what it's supposed to do, like we're talking, versus hydrogen. And like I said, because of the size of hydrogen, it can go where no blueberry has ever gone before. We talk about crossing the blood-brain barrier. We're talking not just into the skin and to the muscles and into the bones. We are talking to the very core of your being. There is no place in your entire body that hydrogen can't reach. And because of that and the nature of that, they call it a selective antioxidant. Whatever intelligence is guiding these hydrogen molecules, they understand as they go in, even though you're supersaturating your body with them, they know to only grab that radical species and deselect any other positive so you don't get that imbalance in your life and in your
Hmm.
health. And that's why we're seeing people that have had radical changes. I mean, from skin to Dr. Sunny, a friend of mine, she had a growth up in her hairline. Just a lovely lady, but was very concerned about this growth, was thinking of surgery. I mean, talking to plastic surgeons, wanted it removed, nervous, was trying different topical ointments. She gets on hydrogen. I didn't even know she was on hydrogen. I called her up. I said, Dr. Sunny, it's been a while. I'd love to talk to you. I've come across something really cool, hydrogen. She goes, is it the Lourdes Hydrofix? I said, are you kidding me? Do you really have one of these devices? I mean, nobody knows about hydrogen except the Japanese. And she said, Craig, I was skeptical. This is all new for us here in Western medicine, right? And she said within 2 months, that growth had entirely disappeared from her scalp line.
Wow.
It's-
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
said, Craig, all I was doing was drinking hydrogen water.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, just to give you a little background about me, I went
Please.
through mold illness and then was diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome, and I had eczema all over head to toe. And then
Oh,
I went through something called topical steroid withdrawal from taking about 2 weeks of oral prednisone. I was not using the topical creams, so the name is kind of misleading. But
I'm
then
with
it
you.
sent me into horrific steroid withdrawal for years. Um, I started in early 2021 and I had been dealing with it up until literally May. It was improving. I was getting better. I've done, you name it, name the biohack, name the protocol, name the supplement,
Right.
trauma work. I'm a licensed therapist. I mean, I'm deep in this like complex illness. I work with clients. And there was just, lingering symptoms from all of that, the skin being one of them. I still had a lot of rashes. They weren't necessarily like ruining my life, but they hadn't gone away in about 4 years.
Nobody wants rashes,
Of
right?
course, yeah. And so that was why I got it for that reason. But I had also been experiencing some POTS-like symptoms, which it was like heart palpitations and circulation issues. And within about 2 months, that's when the heart palpitations just disappeared. And I was like, oh, I didn't even get this machine for that symptom, but
Bonus.
that's really awesome. It didn't even cross my mind that it could be related to like lower oxygen in the body and, all the things molecular hydrogen can help with. And then about 3 months, like I said, was when pretty much every last rash disappeared and my skin was better than I've ever had skin in my whole adult life. So the
In
skin,
fact,
yeah.
yeah, to your point of the skin, real quickly, that's so funny. I just received a testimonial from a lady. She says, would you like to see my before and after pictures, Craig? Here's 4 months. She's been drinking it 4 months. And again, we don't want to say, man, I mean, we've had people change in 17 days, 2 weeks. 2 months, 4 months, but she put her before and after up, and I asked if we could use it, and she is just glowing. The picture difference.
Yeah.
She's just glowing, like you said, the skin, what it's doing for skin alone, right? The largest organ of our body, it makes sense. But to reduce inflammation in this way, and again, a unique way from people that no longer have diabetes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say about that. And I'm still in such amazement anytime I hear a story be because it blows my mind that I'm already drinking water. So why not drink hydrogen water?
Yeah.
And why not invest in your health? You get one of these, uh, you know, and it's not cheap. And that's the whole point. You get what you pay for. When they talk about quality, 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 well, yeah, the device is expensive. It's because it's the finest crafted machine on the planet. They made it as lightweight as possible. They made it as accessible and as small as possible to be able to fit on your counter. You can even move it if you need to carefully, right? And then they made it uh, dual capacity. No other machine of this size, this price, this quality and efficiency exists where all you do is switch out a lid, take out the hydrogen keeper, put on another lid, add your specially designed cannula that's super thick so that it maintains the hydrogen all the way to your nose. And now you're breathing it. I've got people, in fact, one gentleman just emailed me right before we jumped on this and said, okay, so I'm going to start my mornings by breathing hydrogen for 30 minutes. I've got other people, they breathe it right before bed. Some people say don't breathe it right before bed because your dreams are so lucid and so vibrant. I mean, I hear it all. And that's why it's what's so cool is we are so unique as human beings, even though we're so much alike, right? Genetically, 1% difference, right? We hear. But I'm just excited. So your skin totally clears up.
Yep. After, gosh, 6 years of rashes. So, yeah, I mean, I started talking about it immediately with all my clients on my social media. And I tend to, people that are going through similar things as you will gravitate to you. And so a lot of my clients were also dealing with topical steroid withdrawal for years and mast cell activation. And I've had so many incredible testimonials. I mean, people that have gotten off of like hardcore immunosuppressant drugs and steroids
Really?
from autoimmune conditions or eczema and biologic medications. Yeah, it's been really amazing. So I'm so blown away that I wish it existed 6 years ago when I first got sick. Because, I bought an ozone machine. It was equally as
Yeah.
expensive. I've spent probably like $100,000 on all sorts of other gadgets and biohacks, and none of them remotely come close to the holy hydrogen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine-tuned machine. You maintain it, you keep it clean. I mean, I just wipe it down with clean water. I put clean water in it, and that's the beautiful thing. We all live in different water conditions, and so some people just use filtered tap water. Some people do RO. Some people are doing distilled, and there's a lot of opinions out there of exactly. We just know that you provide your clean water. We're not in the water business. We're in the hydrogen business. So you bring your clean water. We'll bring the hydrogen and just watch out.
Yeah.
And I am, like I said, in amazement every day. And when you take the quality, I grew up watching, lots of movies, and always one of the ones, was about a samurai sword. And I thought about the layers and the detail uh, of what goes into creating a samurai sword in Japan. What goes into the Toyota truck sitting in my driveway right now that is almost 20 years old, over 200,000 miles, and all I've changed is the battery, and I need to change the tires again.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, Japanese engineering, they just know. And if anybody's been to Japan and even gone to their grocery stores, when they're wrapping each individual apple in the case, it it it's a at a level of such superiority in cleanliness and quality and precision. They use this in hospitals. You've got chief neurosurgeons that are running this. They're running it in ambulances there. Home after home after home in Japan has the Hydrofix. It is the number one machine in Japan.
Yeah, that's incredible. And let's talk about what makes us so different than the other machines out there, because
Great question.
especially in the last year, we've seen more and more of these like water bottles and the pills and even other machines that are more expensive than the
Yeah.
Hydrofix. What really allows it to stand apart? Obviously, the Japanese engineering. What's the difference between Hydrofix and the other ones?
Such a great question. And I mean, I've even got some bullets here, but
Yeah.
when you're talking about quality, you want to know something's made with quality materials, and the Hydrofix just is. There are no, I'm not disparaging any country, any device. It's you can turn over every other device and it all says made in China. And the Hydrofix is exclusively made in Japan, Japanese parts, Japanese engineering, 100%. Major Japanese companies have collaborated on every part of this machine to bring this together. Additionally, it is the only lab tested, certified machine that it outputs what it says it will output, and then warranted. And then, of course, we take such good care of our customers if they ever have a question, if they do. And the wear, the life, it just keeps going. I mean, I have been running mine almost 24 hours a day for 2 years straight.
Yeah.
The
That
only
that
breaks
makes
I
me
take,
feel better because so have I.
yeah, the only breaks I've ever taken is when I've gone on vacation, and it wasn't going to be convenient for me to put it in a plane or a suitcase and take it on a cruise, for example. You know, but man, I feel it. Drinking hydrogen every day, it's a way of life. And let me highlight one key area. Every other machine we're aware of uses plated or coated metals. They're not using pure platinum, pure titanium. They're all plated and coated because it's cheaper, right? It's got this thin little layer that eventually etches off, breaks off, sloughs off, and there's only one place for it to go in your body. And your body doesn't know what to do with these toxic metals. I mean, the crazy things that crop up in our bodies due to this. That additionally, the membrane itself is, I've got just a little description if you don't mind. It's comprised of three layers featuring a fiber containing polymer membrane ensconced between two other membranes. I mean, the level of detail to create stable hydrogen, and in fact, the world's first truly nano bubbles, uh, has never existed before. A lot of those little bubble things, you can find them on, I won't even mention sites. You can get them for $29, $99, $299. Just turn them over, see where they're made. Secondly, they're directly electrolyzing the water. The Hydrofix doesn't directly electrolyze your water. That's why it's got dual chamber electrolysis, meaning the water that's underneath here that's being broken apart and being electrolyzed is being specially prepared with a proprietary cartridge with all food grade non-toxic materials to super electrolyze the water for this experience that's happening underneath. And so that water is not the water you're drinking. You're
Hmm.
only getting the hydrogen from that experience. Every other machine that we're aware of directly electrolyzes the water, which can change the pH, introduce chlorine, lye, and plated or coated metals right into your system. We've done a lot of tests on a lot of other devices out there, including the pills and other very popular devices, our own individual testing with a mass spectrometer, complete third party, and we were waiting with bated breath to find out what, and we were amazed with just in some instances, one pill, the level of toxic metals that were present in multiple passes through other machines, toxic metals present. We run the Hydrofix, everything shows up ND, non-detectable.
Yeah,
I,
that's super important.
I mean, it truly is. I mean, over-engineered is an understatement. It is so well crafted to do one thing, help provide your body with the raw materials, right? We believe the body is a self-healing mechanism. All it needs are the proper raw materials. And so with hydrogen, we believe we found the best raw material on the planet, the best building block on the planet. So let's just give it that raw material, right? Because health is a habit, not an event.
Yeah, and I even read that our body was making molecular hydrogen to some extent up
Yes.
until, modern culture, so to say. And
Yeah.
now the amount that we are making internally is so low.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, kind of like what we're doing with the soil and our lighting environments, that we've really
Food
affected,
supply.
yeah, all of it, that we've affected the natural ways that our body handled disease, inflammation, toxicity.
Yeah. To your point, we are just walking around, walking inflammation. I mean, you can just see it in people. And it's sad. And people get on hydrogen, and all of a sudden they start to look younger. They feel more vibrant. I mean, for me, look at this. I was at the gym. I know this sounds silly, but I was at the gym early this morning, and I am lifting heavier than I was 2 years ago. No ibuprofen.
Incredible.
The
Yeah.
only thing I've changed. I've been changing my diet in the last 2 years, still trying to eat healthy, but
Hmm.
I'm not completely off to one end, you know what I mean, or the other. And I respect anybody's lifestyle, however they want to include this. But the beautiful thing is people are putting their hands in hydrogen water, right? Once you pour it, it'll dissipate in about 30 to 45 minutes. That's why we say pour it, drink it, just get it right into you because it's going to evaporate. You don't stir it. You don't put anything in the pitcher other than water, right? If you want to put some minerals, if you want to remineralize your water and put a couple of drops of minerals in your water after, drink it, that's fine. You can add cold water. You can add ice cubes into it if you want cold water, right? Because through the whole process, the water is going to be room temperature. And of course, there's people that say that's all I drink, is room temperature water.
Yeah.
But
And I,
go
oh,
ahead.
yeah,
No,
I
please.
just wanted to know, what are the do's and don'ts of drinking it? So, like, I'm using filtered water that
Mhm.
still has minerals in it.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
Whereas I thought that I read that you actually need the minerals to make the molecular hydrogen. But I think what this machine does, since it's doing it in another chamber, that
Correct.
you can use the distilled and the reverse osmosis.
You can. Absolutely. And of course, you just need to be wise about your mineral intake and figure that
Hmm.
out another way.
Yeah.
So if that's going to be, if your water, because it comes with minerals, right? When we've got people that live up in the mountains using well water, they're super mineralized. The only difference will be like with mine, because I have a lot more minerals in my water that I'm using, and I'm choosing to use mineralized water instead of distilled. Um, you might have to do a citric acid cleaning, it's called, and that sounds really crazy. It's like pouring powder into water, stirring it up, and pouring it in your Hydrofix, letting it sit there for a couple of hours, sometimes overnight, depending if the scale builds up, that mineral build up on the plates. But I do that about once a month, and some people have to do it once every 3 weeks, and that's that's a do, right? You just got to take care of your machine. I
Hmm.
like to keep, and people say, what about the upkeep? I wipe it down with a clean cloth. I wipe it down with um, clean water. I rinse out the lid, the pitcher, the little H2 keeper that's in there inside and out. Every few days, I just wipe it down. And I just let it keep going. People say, you don't dry it out. No, no, you don't need to dry it out unless you're going on vacation. You know, just take good
Okay.
care. Yeah, and you,
Yeah.
you only change the filter once a year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's pretty much what I've been doing. And I've been running it pretty much all day, all day, every day.
Yeah. Because it lasts for
Um,
12 hours. That's what another thing that makes this machine unique. After 30
mhm,
minutes, the water is saturated to 1.6 parts per million. You're ready to go. As soon as that beep
mhm,
goes off, everybody sees the double zero, they love it, and then they can start pouring. And then it will sit in standby mode for 12 hours, meaning it will add just enough hydrogen. It's so intelligent to keep your water at 1.6 parts per million. So that if
mhm,
you pour half a pitcher and then you add more in, then you just restart the 30 minutes.
yep.
You can
Uh,
begin breathing immediately. The minute you hit 30 minutes, and if you want to start breathing, you can just start right away.
And you guys have videos on how to clean on your YouTube. So if people are like, "What are
Absolutely.
you talking about?"
Yep,
They're all,
we've got all
it's all
kinds of
there.
cool videos there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's super easy. You just mix citric acid with water and let it sit, and it cleans all of that mineral buildup that may have accumulated from your water. So if you're
correct.
like not using the, or if you're using distilled, you might not have to clean it as much, but
That's correct.
if you are using the mineral, you definitely do. And you can tell when it starts to get like building up, you can look down and see like, yeah, it looks a little fuzzy.
Yeah, there's like kind of a little white film, a mineralized film that's on there.
hmm
It starts to close up this little grid down there on the plates, and I'm like, ah, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Awesome. So what are some other do's and don'ts of doing molecular hydrogen? So we have to drink it within 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah, and
You
once you
can,
pour a glass, yeah.
can you add, you said you can add minerals. Can you add anything else to it, or
Sure.
will that change the
You
content?
can, you don't want to agitate the water a lot. If it's something that kind of like a dropper, right? A dropper of minerals, a dropper, if somebody likes flavored water, for
hmm
example, wants to put a little drop that you don't have to shake up or agitate because the hydrogen will just go if you
Yeah.
agitate the heck out of that. You don't put hot water in the machine ever. You you don't add your coffee to it or your tea and put it in the microwave or your hot chocolate. None of that. This is a separate experience. This is your water experience. You have your coffee experience, your tea experience, whatever other drink you want. This is your hydrogen water experience. So you'll never want to we don't put any hot water in the machine ever. Just room temperature or cool or even cold is what you'll use. And the instructions are so simple. We've got so many cool videos on our site that just walk you step by step. And I get great questions all the time that I have to go add another FAQ video just because I get questions, wow, that we didn't even think of that people come up with.
hmm Yeah, it's super simple. But can you explain the difference between drinking the water and then inhaling it? And why do we want both? Or is one better for
Absolutely.
one thing and one's good for another?
Yeah, in essence, yes. Drinking, obviously, you get a lot of benefits from the hydration just immediately. But we kind of say this from essentially here down, it's drinking. From here up, it's breathing and including your lungs. But when you breathe and introduce hydrogen directly into your nose, olfactory nerve, everything, and it immediately starts crossing that blood-brain barrier, and the results on, and I'm not diseases, but issues that people have with TBI, dementia, Alzheimer's. I'm not saying it's curing it. The body does the miracle, right? It does the miracle. It just needs the raw materials. What we're saying is we are getting story after story of people who are breathing. And that's one of Judy's stories. Her mom just put the cannula on her in 17 days. She's in a care facility, sitting there, not doing much at all. All of a sudden, within 17 days, she took picture after picture. The whole story's up there, and she's up out of the wheelchair using a fork and talking. So, something about breathing, and people can Google any of this that they want, or they can go to hydrogenstudies.com, not our site, third party site. And they've tried to amass every kind of hydrogen study you can. You can type in a disease, heart, diabetes, something, and it will bring up a reference to a study. And studies are ongoing every single month, all over the world. Over 2,000 studies on 170 disease models. so far and counting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that's just since 2007, right?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, exactly. So drinking from here down, kind of a thing, and skin, but then breathing, it seems to do wonders for the brain and brain issues.
And do you need a separate, like, I know some other companies have like goggles and ear things you can put into your ear. Is that
Yeah.
totally necessary, or by inhaling it through the nose, is that just as effective? Like, is hydrogen going to know where it needs to go, kind of a
Absolutely.
thing?
Yeah. It's so intelligent. It does know where it needs to go, but we are looking, and we've explored for now over a year the right mask with the manufacturer if people want to do that. Some people just, want to do that, or the ears, or some people are doing their own eye drops. It's just hydrogen water, right? And they do their own eye drops every single morning. Some people are soaking an eczema spot or hands in a very, mild, low pool of water. They pour their hydrogen water in and they just soak their hands for 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Their pets are drinking it. Their kids are drinking it. Pregnant women are drinking it. Now, of course, we always have to disclaim if you have any questions, talk to your primary care physician, blah, blah, blah. But we've never seen any contraindications on hydrogen for
Hmm.
anyone. It's hydrogen. It makes up the
Yeah.
universe.
So there's no like toxic limit. You can't overdo it.
Can't overdose on hydrogen. Now, people overdose on water, right? I mean, I guess people have died from drinking too much water,
Yeah.
but that's a volume issue. Because what happens is hydrogen goes in, if there's quote unquote, let's say there was a scenario where there was no place for it to go, it just is expelled out of the body.
Like it just permeates out of your skin.
Exactly. It's not like water that's taking up volume, dense molecular structure like water. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have had a couple clients who are really, really sensitive
Mhm.
that have tried it, that had kind of like adverse effects, like more pain, headaches, where I kind of attributed it to maybe detox symptoms.
Detox, cleanse. Yeah.
But also, when you're dealing with mast cell activation, any change, even a good change, like some people can react to going outside or even being happy. I've had a client react to being calm and doing any sort of like parasympathetic activation for the nervous system. So I
Mhm.
was wondering maybe if that what was going on, like even if it was a
Interesting.
positive change, was it
Sure.
still like, oh no, a change? So mast cells
Well,
react.
it's kind of like those people that sit in a cave all day or in their office. They have zero sunlight, and all of a sudden they decide, you know what? I need to get out of my house after COVID or whatever it was. They go out into the sun and start feeling the sun on their face and getting vitamin D, and all of a sudden they get a sunburn. I mean, they're doing a good thing, but they have this adverse reaction, and now you're introducing hydrogen, and especially what really we see often. I won't say a lot, but I get stories. Boy, I'm sure able to use the bathroom a lot better now. Um, Generally, it's because people are dehydrated, and all of a sudden if you really ask the average person, let's just say in America or anywhere in the world, how much water they really drink in a day, and I'm not talking about, well, I got some with my coffee and maybe I had a soda with lunch. You see where I'm going? The average person isn't drinking a lot of water every single day, like just plain water. And so we find all of a sudden people instantly want to start drinking 1.5 liters. We say, hey, take it slow. Do a glass. The next day, do two glasses, three glasses, three glasses, work up to that 1.5 liter mark on the pitcher. And because people, they start just slamming water. Well, man, your body's going to adjust when you've been dehydrated for 20 years of your life and not drinking water and only drinking sodas or coffee. Now we put just pure hydrogen and I'll tell you, also people are like, man, I'm starting to have diarrhea. I'm like, finally.
Yeah, I tend to work with people who are not the average American. They are very dialed into their
Oh,
health and
good,
all
good.
the things because, nothing works, or
That's a good
they're so
point.
sensitive they can't tolerate almost anything. And that's where I really see hydrogen being such an amazing support for people like that, like myself as well, that just like nothing is touching their sensitivity, nothing is touching their inflammation. And it stabilizes mast cells as well. So it can lower like the histamine reactions. And I've seen also, like you mentioned, with gut health,
Yeah.
not just constipation, but healing leaky gut, intestinal permeability, the overgrowth, all the inflammation that comes with that. So,
Got a story of endometriosis. We got one of the stories on
mhm,
our site. Just fibroids gone. Uh,
amazing. And what about the big C word, cancer?
yeah, yeah, lots of studies. People can go check it out. Tumors, we've got stories, including Greg the Hydrogen Man, who had tumors throughout his body. I mean, he couldn't even get out of a wheelchair. He couldn't even use a remote control.
Yeah, I
And
had him on
heart,
as well because
heart
his
issues,
story.
right? And Greg, I mean, that's, but you can go do the research. People can look it up, but cancer, COVID, I mean, to me, inflammation is inflammation, the genesis of all disease, and hydrogen knows exactly what to do with it.
hmm Yeah, and somebody asked a great question to me the other day. It was, what about good inflammation? Like when you get a cut and you need to heal it,
Yeah,
or a broken bone or whatnot. And I kind of explained the way you explained in the beginning that it's going to go after the types of inflammation that's going to cause like tissue damage and the
correct.
chronic illness versus it leaves intact the type of inflammation needed to mount an immune response. I got a cold while I was breathing it, for example. Like it didn't prevent my body from going into a healing response to an illness or something like that that's important.
Yeah, agreed. It is because it is so intelligent and selective is the word. People can go Google that, whatever, do their own research.
Mm-hmm.
How is hydrogen a selective antioxidant? And it is. That's one of the beauties of this building block of the universe. There's a reason why it is number one on the periodic table, right? It's the lightest, smallest, tasteless, colorless, odorless, and yet it builds worlds, planets, right? Stars, the sun, and it builds us.
Mm-hmm.
And I I couldn't be more excited to
Yeah.
make the discovery for me, right? And some people are going to be skeptical about anything, but the Japanese have had this figured out for years. We're finally getting it over here. And sadly, there's a lot of pretenders, a lot of little goofy water bottles that are directly electrolyzing the water, putting plated metals in the water, and really more like toys versus, I mean, it's the difference between a goofy Barbie Mattel play phone for my granddaughter that she plays with and makes noises to your iPhone sitting on the table. An iPhone sitting on a table doesn't really look like much. If we showed it to somebody in the past, say, "What is this?" Oh, it's just like this black thing. Well, that's the Hydrofix. It might not look like much. They could have put a lot more money into the exterior and plating and lots of metal and glass. Nobody would have been able to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why they use the finest, including the plastics. That comes up once in a while. Uh, I can send you all the details on the specs of all the plastics for the entire machine and the reasons why they did do what they did using the finest materials they could. Again, we're not storing water in this, right? It's not a jug, so to speak. It's not going to stay there. This is meant to be a very fluid device. It's just constantly changing as you constantly change it. I mean, you're always adding water through the cartridge too, that keeps that pool recycled all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the one thing that you guys kind of hammer in with taking care of the machine is obviously the citric acid
Mhm.
cleanings, but then also not to tip it over when there's water in it. So can
Yeah.
you can
You,
you
you
explain
never,
why?
yeah, there's a little plug on the back. It's got a piece of tape on it. And, we're working on a better design with the manufacturer that maybe it would be like kind of a grommeted in there so you wouldn't lose it. But people do lose that little plug sometimes if they're not careful. but you just move it over to the sink. You take the little plug out, you let it drain flat. The idea is because of the electronics and the nature of the electronics, this isn't something you shake around, carry around under your arm. This is something you treat very carefully. The side-to-side motion um, can disrupt some of the electronics if it gets tipped too much. And so they're always working on refining it. I mean, the latest model is what we have right now. And of course, we'll get another model someday that'll just be even better, just like we keep upgrading our phones. But yeah, people need to take great care with the machine. It's not fragile. I don't want to give that impression, but you just make sure you treat it, you drain it, and you just wipe it down with a clean cloth. I'm not spraying Clorox all over it, wiping it
Right.
down with liquid soap. I don't do any of that. All I've done for 2 years is clean water and a towel and occasionally a Q-tip around the base into some of the cracks that I can see if dust or a mosquito landed in there once. I mean, just, kind of crazy things.
Yeah. And I've traveled with mine, so I just make sure
Yeah,
that it's
me
very
too.
dry. And then once it's totally dry, I can pack it.
And
Um,
dry out the cartridge too. TSA doesn't necessarily like a wet cartridge. If you're like packing and you're running to the door, because you can't open the cartridge, they can't see it and it looks like a solid and they don't know what it is. And then they freak out.
okay, yeah. I haven't been stopped with mine. I don't know if
Good,
I'm just
good.
doing the right
I've only
thing.
been stopped on the way back once, and we
Mm,
had just come from a show and the cartridge was completely wet. If it's dry, because it's all dry materials inside, right?
hmm.
But if it's all wet, they don't know what it is.
Right. Yeah.
One
Okay.
airport, I won't mention it, but anyway.
I would probably, if I do ever get stopped with it, I would probably just say it helps to make quality water.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice water filter.
It's a
Yep.
medical grade water machine, and
Yep,
I will
good.
leave it at that.
Yeah, therapeutic grade water machine. Yep, and
Mhm.
I only would put that in your carry-on. Please do not pack that to go.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I've only done a carry-on, so that
Yeah.
makes sense. All right. Awesome. So, we could probably talk about incredible stories for people that have healed. It's just
I'd love to connect with
incredible.
some people in the future if you'd like to interview them and have them tell their story as well.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah. I love the pain to passion stories. So,
Mm,
people who have healed from things that you're not supposed to heal from, quote unquote, according to Western medicine. And
right.
I love all that. Tell everyone where to find your YouTube and the Holy Hydrogen website. I'll link my personal link, and my discount code is Panacea for the Holy Hydrogen site. But
Perfect.
you guys have so many incredible videos on the education piece behind the hydrogen, plus a lot of those testimonials as well.
Yeah, you can just go to holyhydrogen.com. That'll get you to our course site. And that's kind of our Disneyland. You can just keep digging in and diving in, and you will find so much information there. But then you can go to just Holy Hydrogen on YouTube. You just pop that Holy Hydrogen, all one word kind of a thing. And even if it's two words, you'll find our site, you'll find our videos, and you'll go to a playlist that'll be kind of the how-to playlist. And you can watch if you want to kind of educate yourself about the different elements of taking care of the machine and setup. And it's real easy.
Yeah.
It seems a little daunting. People get, whoa, boy, here we go. But yeah, once you get it going, same thing every day, kind of a
hmm
thing.
Yeah, my boyfriend jokes with me. I hate reading directions, so I make him do anything with directions. And there's basically no like I didn't have to read anything. So if I
It's
can do
pretty
it,
intuitive.
anyone can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty intuitive for sure. Great to
Awesome.
speak with you, Amanda. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much, Craig, and for everything you guys are doing. I'm really excited to see, more change, more people investing in this type of machine, and really seeing that long-term benefit from introducing hydrogen to their life.
Amen. I just like to say, people either pay for sickness or they pay for health, but either way they'll pay. I would much rather pay for health. And to me, this has been one of the absolute best investments of my entire life. I mean, here I am, no ibuprofen in 2 years. Amazing.
Yeah, and that was after what, like 30 years? 20
Yeah,
years?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's incredible.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. I will see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. I am just so thrilled that you're listening to the Healer Revolution podcast. This has been a huge passion project for me and super therapeutic on top of that, helping me to use my voice and connect with other like-minded individuals. So if you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe. Please share on social media or with your audience or friends or loved ones. I truly appreciate it. It does take a lot of time and financial costs to run the podcast, and it is not a moneymaker, let me tell you. So if you are enjoying this, I would truly appreciate your support just by sending me a post, a like, and a subscribe. Thank you so much.